Breaking news now. As NATO forces come under attack, why is Biden trying to appease a Putin pawn? Russian President Vladimir Putin is doing poorly in Ukraine, so he will try any strategy to divert Western attention. This time, Russia is using Serbia as a pawn to sow discord in the Balkans, the weak spot of Europe. Russia wants to see ethnic strife in the Balkans escalate to the point where NATO is weakened and Russia is reinstated as the region's power broker. So, it begs the question, why are Vice President Joe Biden and his group on board with this? After the arrest of a suspected Serb protest leader on Tuesday, ethnic Serbs clashed with police in northern Kosovo, prompting the sounding of air raid sirens in the area. Serbian protesters injured 30 members of NATO's peacekeeping force, KFOR, 2 weeks ago following municipal elections of ethnically Albanian mayors. 92% of Kosovo's 1.8 million people are Albanian, while only 6% are Serb. The tiny nation has been an American ally for decades, to the point where George W. Bush Boulevard and Bob Dole Street can be found there. Kosovo is no longer taking part in the American-led NATO exercise, Defender Europe 23. AP. Kosovo is very grateful to the United States for its support during the 2008 independence referendum and for its assistance during the 1999 crackdown on ethnic Albanians by Serbia. It's obvious that American love is conditional. The U.S. ambassador to Kosovo blamed the Kosovo government for this crisis atmosphere in the north, while the U.S. ambassador to Serbia praised Serbia for being a constructive partner and did not criticize Serbia for its troublemaking. Kosovo is no longer taking part in the American-led NATO exercise, Defender Europe 23. Biden's risk aversion and fear of Russian escalation are at the heart of this bizarre shift in American policy. The United States is concerned that Serbia will switch sides and give Putin an opportunity to open a new front in the conflict by siding with Russia. The Biden administration should know better, but appeasing Russia only boosts Putin's confidence. Serbian forces will join NATO in the multinational exercise, Platinum Wolf. The United States Embassy in Serbia reacted positively, declaring that this proves Serbia has chosen the West. This is the most incorrect statement possible. This exercise has been held 7 times since 2014 thanks to Serbia's strategy of maintaining a balance between Russia and Washington. The reaction of Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić is typical of his strategy of escalating tensions and then lowering them to negotiate with the West over the status of Kosovo. Already, the Kremlin is pressuring Serbia to take things to a new level. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov described the violence as worrisome, and blamed the West, saying, "A big explosion is brewing in the center of Europe, in the very place where, in 1999, NATO carried out aggression against Yugoslavia." During a press conference in Belgrade on April 15, Russian ambassador to Serbia Aleksandar Botsin Karchenko referred to the conflict in Kosovo as a hybrid war, and claimed that Vučić's opponents are planning a Maidan-style coup, referring to the uprising in Ukraine in 2013 and 2014. Russia's interference extends to the ground as well. It was reported in February that Russian mercenaries from the Wagner Group were collaborating with Serbian paramilitaries, prompting a warning from Kosovo's president, Vjosa Osmani. The West's strategy of blaming Kosovo while ignoring Vučić and Putin's power games is an example of realpolitik. Washington is aware that Vučić could easily team up with Moscow to spark a new conflict in the region, so they view Serbia as more strategically important than Kosovo. American appeasement of Serbia won't work because relations between Serbia and Russia are thriving. Rather than demonstrating allegiance to the West, Serbia's participation in Western military exercises and empty rhetoric is part of its balancing strategy between Russia and Washington. Serbia never instituted anti-Russian sanctions after the war with Russia. Director of Serbia's pro-Russian intelligence agency, Aleksandar Vulin, attended a security conference in Moscow last month. Russia is not to blame for Serbia's problems. To further his goal of staying in power, Vučić has portrayed himself as a stabilizing force by capitalizing on regional unrest. Vučić has positioned himself as a moderate dealmaker in the region by escalating and then de-escalating the crisis and negotiating with the West on his terms. Also, he has used the worsening situation in Kosovo to divert attention from the problems at home. The KFOR must demonstrate that it is prepared to take action against Serbian forces if tensions rise. Last week, NATO sent in an additional 700 troops to ensure everyone's safety. This is a positive development. The United States should not make concessions to Belgrade but instead increase pressure for Belgrade to recognize Kosovo's independence and impose sanctions on Russia. The West should make Russia realize how unreliable they are as an ally by calling their bluff. The Russian ambassador to Serbia warned that the situation was on the verge of a wider conflict, and urged Belgrade to rely on Moscow's support in its dealings with Kosovo. Russia's dwindling military might in Ukraine makes it impossible for Moscow to back Serbia. Vučić has reasons to avoid an open conflict with NATO. Weakness on the part of the West would give Putin and Vučić more confidence. Russia and Serbia will reignite this Cold War whenever it serves their purposes. It is time for the West to show that the Kremlin is nothing more than a hollow shell, rather than waiting for Moscow to invalidate NATO.